Okay, so good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world right now, wherever you are on the planet, in the galaxy. Welcome to this Thursday sharing of Harmonize2Energize. My name is Terry Matthews. It's been my pleasure and honor to share aspects of JIN SHIN JYUTSU, the art of the creator through compassion of man, sometimes described that way, as well as more recently modalities with overlapping connections for about the far. I'm doing this a lot, putting my S before my P's for the past 5 years. And for those of you that are completely brand new to JIN SHIN JYUTSU or maybe watching this for the first time on YouTube, JIN SHIN JYUTSU is an art of harmonizing life energy, prana, or chi as it's sometimes called in different cultures, as it moves congruently or not through the body, through energy pathways, which are regulated by what in JIN SHIN JYUTSU are called safety energy locks. These safety energy locks are the diameter of your palm, not mine, yours. Oh, here we go. Wave to me. When you place the palms of your hands, the fingers, or your thumbs on these safety energy locks, there's 26 of them, left and right of the spine, 3 in the arm. That induces current in your body to allow the energy to move. If it doesn't move too well, you might have to leave your hands there a little longer. And the reason it doesn't always move congruently is what we understand to be the balance or imbalance between our thinking, our expression of our thoughts, and our actions. It was brought to the West by Mary Burmeister back in the 70s when she lived in California. She had learnt the art from her master, Master Jiro Murai, in Japan in the 40s. And she brought this art in the 70s to the West. She added a bit of information to it, which Master Jiro Murai had not. But she was for about 12 years, she was in contact with him by mail, and they would discuss any updates to her knowledge, anything that he had discovered. And he also worked with Haruki Kato, who was also a teacher of JIN SHIN JYUTSU. But Kato worked within the medical profession. Mary Burmeister worked with all levels of people. You could say she was the public face of JIN SHIN JYUTSU. So anyway, today is one of those mystery presenter days or hours. And I'm very happy to introduce to all of you, if you haven't met her already, Yolanda Kalb. And
Hello.
I'm going to disappear because Yolanda is our mystery presenter. So you don't need to see me anymore. So welcome, Yolanda.
Thank you. Thank you,
I'm
Terry.
just
I'm
going to.
really excited to be here. And it's a privilege to be able to talk about a long journey that I've been on with JIN SHIN JYUTSU. I started quite a number of years ago when I was really young, and my mom had received treatments with Mary. She had previously had surgery that was really debilitating. And this is like 45, 50 years ago. The surgery probably was 50 years ago when it was a little archaic. And she improved immensely and wanted to go take the classes with Mary. And her and I went together to do that. And that was back in the day. So in the early 70s. And my mom was a longtime client for Mary and for Pat. In later years, Pat Meter would be who treated her in the office. So anyways, I have a little presentation today to talk about some of this and what's currently what this week is currently kind of presenting, and we're in between eclipses, and there's some, important influences that Jin Shin does correlate with the astrological knowledge. And so I thought I'd just bring a little bit of it to. Okay, so I can see my presentation. So I was just starting with talking about the first classes that I went to with my mom in Scottsdale. And I found it was interesting when I was going back through those books, my original Jin Shin books from back in the 70s. I found a business card of Mary's. So I had that up on the screen, and it's a beautiful reminder for me of, the time that I spent there. Back in the day, the classes were not 5-day classes. They were once a week, and it was generally 3 to 4 hours. And it was like for 6 months, we would go through, I don't even remember, probably book 1 and then another class with book 2. So when the 5-day class came out, we called it the crash course, which I've attended a lot of the crash courses with a lot of different instructors over the years. And I really am enjoying the special topic classes that you can get online, and you can, review those classes. And it really helps to pick up some of the nuances that maybe during a 5-day class, you don't have the opportunity to delve into. So I think it's a wonderful technological world that we're in, only I'm having a little problems with mine today. So I did have one little quote that I like from Mary, which is listen until you can see. And I thought we'd just start with one of Mary's favorites, one of the self-help book's favorites, which is the ring finger, the thumb over the ring finger. And that's something we can just do as I go through and talk about what I wanted to present today. And what I did have copies of some of the mudras or routines that I wanted to use, but I think I can walk through them. So if everybody would like to just start with either holding their ring finger or putting the thumb over the ring finger, that's a really good way to get the breath regulated. It's for the lung and the large intestine flow. And it also is very much about where we are today. We're in the Aries energy today, which relates to those two or to the lung flow. And I love the ring finger because it also relates to that general protection of all of the energy with this umbilicus flow and diaphragm. So we're just going to start with that and get myself used to the idea I'm not going to get these screen sharing to work today. And I'll go to the next slide so we can stay on track. Really? Okay, I'm going to put it on my phone. I know I have it there. So the other thing I wanted to talk about was that the self-help is so important, and Terry has demonstrated that when he's doing these weekly classes. I was very much impressed with him starting with going through the safety energy locks one at a time, because that's kind of how I remember going to class back in the day, was spending some time with each of the safety energy locks, although we first had, the books were reversed, so it was, um, we had book 1 was more about the meridians, and book 2 were the safety energy locks. So what I wanted to cover today is about that first step, those first 4 safety energy locks and what they relate to. Because we are in an eclipse season, and because it involves the first depth, which is stomach and spleen. And the spleen is what relates to the moon. And, the moon is very important. It's about our family. It's about our emotions. It's about, it relates to Cancer in the astrology. And, it changes every 2.5 days. So it's not like, and we have these big new moons and full moons that really bring up those kind of emotions. So it's an important element that we keep balanced. And it does also help with change of seasons, which we're in. We're headed into spring. So it's a really important to balance our spleen flow. There's lots of videos out that already cover that spleen flow. So today I wanted to just get a little bit more into other relationships that also help. So it's going to be a little eclectic. And I hope that everybody's able to ask questions when they need to, and keep me on track if somehow it's not correlating for you. I'm going to put this on my phone because I can't even get it up on my sheet on my screen right now. Terry, did you want to say anything while I find this so I can stay on track here? Terry? Terry, are you there?
I was muted.
Oh.
Yeah.
Let me just find this on my phone so that I can stay in.
I find this lead up to the eclipse is creating these kinds of waves of strong energy, and I think we all have to understand that, as representing as above, so below, electronic things can be affected extremely when it comes to the movement of planets.
Yes, and Mercury is retrograde.
Well, there you are.
There's, it's not that it happens 3 times a year, but it started a new cycle in fire, and it is a part of this next eclipse. The next eclipse is going to be on April the 8th. We just had the March 25th eclipse, and that was in Libra, which is about relationships. And I really think JIN SHIN JYUTSU is about relationships. It's about making the relationship connections. And that's what I learned when I first, or that's what impressed me when I first started, was that things are all connected. And so I think it's real important that we start to develop these other connections with astrology or other kinds of modalities that that bring us into balance. And the more you learn about these other modalities, the more you can relate it to your own life. So I did have a beautiful picture. I swear, can I put pictures in chat?
You might be able to. I've not
Okay.
experimented with
I will
that.
I will try that in a little bit, but for now,
This is a great first depth challenge, isn't it? First and fifth.
about
Don't worry.
about security, safe, well, yeah, being secure,
Yeah,
getting,
yeah, it's fine.
feeling confident, right, right.
And
Um,
if I could say, all this has totally awakened our imaginations.
Oh,
We are imagining your slides,
oh,
even though
good.
we can't see
there you
them.
go.
So I feel myself, right there with you visually. The not seeing is not the important part.
But
It's
let me,
it's
Terry,
the here.
can you put my email in the chat? So if anyone wants those slides, I can email them out.
Oh, please, yes.
Yeah. Uh,
Okay. What is the email?
you can put it to Yo Kalb, Kalb,
Oh, wait a minute. Is it just YO?
just YO,
Yeah. Yeah. At Gmail?
at gmail.com. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, everybody, Yolanda will send you her slides. There it is. Perfect.
Okay. And I also do have a write-up that, because I will not get through all of the events that are going on. But I will send that out to you as well. If you just email me, I'd be happy to send that.
Perfect.
Yeah, the picture of that full moon rising is really, really special. And we live up in the mountains, and so you will like that. um, so this eclipse is important for a lot of reasons, but the number one thing that I believe is important, especially if you're into the healing arts, is that it is conjunct Chiron and Mercury. And that's unusual. It's an exact conjunction with Chiron. Chiron is known as the wounded healer. And what it really is he was abandoned as a child, and so it relates to whatever kind of self, whatever kind of hurt you felt somewhere in in your lifetime, whenever. And he went on to be, he was taught by Zeus and um, in the healing arts, and he went on to be the teacher of all the healing arts. So he was later injured and wanted, because he was immortal, he traded places and ended up as a mythical being that we talk about in the realm of finding that inner healer, and getting to our sense of resolving those kinds of issues. And so it's exactly conjunct this next new moon. It's a new moon solar eclipse on the 8th of April. And Mercury is retrograde and also conjunct. Today, the sun is conjunct the North Node, and the eclipses all have to do with the North Node. That's when an eclipse happens, is when the sun and moon, or the sun is conjunct with the North Node. And in astrology, there's a lot of talk about it being, what our destiny is, and what we're meant to be doing. And sometimes the eclipses kind of bring you into that place of getting to the next stage, whatever that involves, releasing something and going forward. So it seems like a double meaning of the same sort of ideas that we are moving through. And Terry and I talked a little bit earlier about some of the thoughts about where we're headed in this universe, as to there's so many people talking about moving into the next dimension. What I loved about when I started really getting serious about learning, and I'm just a self-taught I'm not an astrologer, and any information that, you know, that we talk about today, it's not it's not a recommendation medically. It's just to get your own knowledge to a place where you have a better understanding of what might be influencing you or helpful for you. So when I first started, the 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 thing that drew me in, like totally, like I'm really going to do this on a daily basis, is the talk about our sun actually travels around another sun, which I'd never knew. And Sirius is the sun that we travel around. And it was going through a really dark period where we were the furthest away. And, you know, things were happening in this world that were just excruciating and didn't make sense. It seemed like we were moving forward, and then all of a sudden things were falling apart. So learning about that and learning that we were at the furthest from that sun and we're moving back towards the orbit that brings us closer, which is exactly the same time as it relates to the Renaissance time. That gave me a little bit of hope, a little bit of, you know, a bit of, sometimes knowledge can do that. It can just bring you to a better place. And so it really initiated my my interest. And I think now we're in that same kind of moment where we're kind of coming into this new place. And I think it's a very exciting place. So, so the Chiron is important. The Mercury retrograde is important, and it's a part of this new eclipse coming up. So the other slide that I wanted to work with.
I'm sorry, is there another hold you'd like us to work on after the lung, since we've been here for a while now?
That's where I was going to go. Thank you. Yes, any of the finger holds that you like are, you know, good to get through this, but I don't have the picture to show you, but on the self-help, holding 25 and the same side 1 is to help the supervisor flows for the left supervisor or the right supervisor. And we're going to do 3 different holds. So it's safety energy lock 1 with 25, which is on the sit bone. 1 would be at the bend of the knee, on the inside of the knee. Or if 25 sitting on the hand is not comfortable, you can go to safety energy lock 2 on the hip and 1 together. So that'll be the first step. And from there, we've already held that ring finger, which is a part of this hold. So we're going to go to the next step, which is this 1 and 25, or 1 and safety energy lock 2. And I love these energy locks together, 1 and 2, because that was also another part of my initial learning, is that things really initiate and start the energy moving with 1, as well as, you know, the 1 flow is good for everything. It's a prime mover. And holding them in sequence, any of the safety energy locks that you hold in sequence are actually all contributing and helping each other to get through to the next, you know, to move through the pattern that they're meant to be moving in. It's when we're holding those safety energy locks, it's helping to get rid of anything. If it's stagnant, if it's not moving, then, you know, it's not making the connections that really are useful. So we're just going to stay with safety energy lock 1 and 2. And then I think I'm going to go on to the next the next little bit of information, but we'll do both sides. We'll do whatever side you're on right now. We'll stick with this one for a little while. So we talked about this upcoming eclipse, and the next event that's coming is, well, there's several, but as you can imagine, there's Mars will conjunct with Saturn. Saturn's in Pisces right now, and they're kind of it's like put on the gas and the brake at the same time. So they're not they're not easy to work with each other. But I think with all the Aries energy that's here, it's really telling us to slow down a little bit, and we don't see the big picture really. We're just we're in a we might have a lot of ideas, we might have a lot of ambition, we might have, Aries is all about initiating things, and lots of energy. Could be physical energy, could be athletics. It's also the baby of the zodiac, so it can have some impulsive kind of energy to it. So the Saturn, I think, is just giving us a little slowdown information, and evidently that's where I'm at today, is getting slowed down from doing the full-blown pictures that I had scheduled. So it's one of the energies that will be coming up shortly after today. And right after the eclipse, we have a very exciting conjunction. It's called, it's in Taurus, which we're talking about those energies. And Taurus is, it's at 19 degrees. Oh, I'm sorry, incorrect. The eclipse that's coming on the 8th is at 19 degrees. The conjunction I was going to bring in is happening on April the 20th, and it's Uranus and Jupiter in Taurus. I hope that wasn't too confusing, giving wrong information that I had to backtrack on. And that's being touted as the biggest conjunction of the year. So it happens every 14 years. Uranus is about exciting, unusual, very electric kind of energy. And Jupiter is about our spiritual quest. We could talk about the rulers of the signs. So Uranus would rule the gallbladder, and which is Aquarius, and Jupiter rules Pisces, which is but all in the third depth and all about spring. So I think when we're waiting for spring to really take hold and some new ideas to come in, it might be around that same time, that April the 20th. So staying on the theme of the first depth, because we have so many planets, these personal planets, we're talking, Mercury, Mars, Jupiter, all very active. And the first step is about this cervical. So it's cervicals 1 through 7. I thought we would just spend some time with that hold, going through, starting with cervical 1, which is where the thoracic vertebrae comes, right at around safety energy lock 11. I'm sorry, I don't have pictures, but let's just walk through using using one hand on that first cervical, which relates to the moon, which is what we're really dealing with today. And every day, because we're, we tune into our emotions, we tune into our families, we tune into, how those sense of security is important, and we need to take care of things. So that first cervical, it's representing the moon. So we're just going to hold and find if you can sense that there's one side that's, maybe tighter, or if it's if there is if you're sensing the pulse, one side might be more active than the other. And then with the other hand, you found which side you want to work with. We're just going to walk up those 7 cervicals. And that is the first depth. That would be another relationship of the first depth that we can always, help our alignment, which will help everything. So we're going to go with the first step on whichever side you chose, the left or the right. And with the other hand, we're going to move up, and we'll be on cervical 2. You know what? I think I have cervical 7 would be where we're at right now. I've just had it in the reverse order. So cervical 7, where 11 meets the bottom of the neck, is where the moon is related. It is, we're going to move up to the next cervical on the other side, which will be about Mercury and the 4th depth. So all the depths are covered in this particular hold that we're going to do. We're just going to walk up cervical by cervical, starting with whichever side you chose to stay stable on that cervical 7. And we can move to the next cervical, number 5. And it represents the 2nd depth, Venus. Do we have any questions in the chat? Because I totally might have confused you starting.
Can you just turn your chair around so we could see where your hands are? We don't see anything but your face. So it's okay that there's no slide or picture, but a visual always helps of some sort.
Well, I don't think that you're going to actually see the cervicals, but can you follow along with where they, just moving up through the cervicals one at a time from that first place where TV 1 is where the cervical 7 connects? I don't know that you're going to see.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
It's good, Yolanda. Yeah.
That helps so much. A visual, no matter what it is a visual.
Right. So we talked a lot about Venus. And this is part of the second depth. All the depths are represented here, but it also correlates to the first step. And being that it's all the personal planets, I think that's a really important part of our day-to-day, how we cope with everything in the day. We're going to move one more up to CV4, which is right in the middle, which would be about where safety energy like 12 would be. And it represents the sun. So I'm pretty sure close to where that CV4 would be located.
Yolanda,
Yeah.
you you disappeared. We just saw the back of your chair.
Right.
Yeah.
I was going to try to show where CV4 was. But right where,
It's okay. People that count. As long as they've got that anchor, they'll count.
yes. So
Yeah.
just slowly, inch up and you'll be close. You'll be in that range. And again, it's pretty much where there is safety energy like 12, only it'd be a middle 12. More to the middle, more to. We'll move up one more to connect with Mars. It's the fifth step, and it's cervical 3. And we'll go ahead on third depth, cervical 2. Jupiter would be the planet. And that cervical 1 relates with Saturn and the first step. So the relationships are, they're multiple, they don't just correlate to one particular, my elbows really hurt. Probably would be really easier to do this if you were laying down and going through this where you're not out of position and becomes really uncomfortable. But it's a great exercise to do anytime for helping the alignment. When you get that main central into alignment, it helps everything. CV1 and 2 feel like they're inside the skull. They're very close. They're, CV1 would be about middle 4. And, if you're very, you're really very gentle, but yet mine just released. So, and we just did one side. So you can then come back and do the other side. I just felt, an alignment happen. So just from, briefly staying with those points. So you can go back and do the other side, or if it's, if it's too strenuous, we won't do it now. It's something you can do anytime, but it's really comfortable if you're laying down in bed to just go through those cervicals, and you're really you're touching on all the depths, and that's something that, you know, there's lots of flows that do that. 5, 6, 7, 8 flow does that. 16, 17, 18, 19 does that. So, so the other one that I would like to do, and actually I did those out of order. I was going to do this one first, but again, my notes are kind of in, they're in the ether somewhere. So the other one that I really love and I would like to spend a few minutes with today is high 1 and opposite 19. And that should be a little more comfortable for everybody, I think. And the reason that I chose those two is because in Mary's self-help books, they are the recommendation for so many of the safety energy locks. You can vary between high 1 and 19 and high 1 and high 19. It's kind of, you know, it switches occasionally a couple of times, I think, but primarily it's safety energy locks 16, or no, 17, 8, no, 16, 17, 18, 19, let me get this right. It is 17, 18, 19, 20. That, no, it's 16, 17, 18, and 19. That's the recommendation in self-help, is this hold, this high 1 and opposite 19. It's also recommended under safety energy lock 10 and 14. But today, because we are in the spring and that 17, 18, 19, 20 have, no, 17, 16, 17, 18, and 19 do relate to that third depth, the spring. I thought this would be an easy one that I could talk through and we can use, and we'll do both sides on this. So there's a few other things I could touch on with regards to the kind of energy that's all around us, you know, that we're either experiencing or witnessing. And I wanted to talk a little bit more about Venus, because Venus is so important in, you know, she's the ruler of both Libra and Taurus. And on the handout, if you email me, I'll send you the handout that has information about Ariel Gutman, who has a lot of information about the Venus star point. And one of the reasons why I think Venus is, another one of the reasons why I think she's so important, is that the Venus star point moves like 1 degree every 72 years. And it's just changed signs from being a Scorpio Venus star point last year to enter Libra at the back end of Libra. So instead of starting at the 1st degree, it starts at the last degree coming in. And that sets up like a 200-year cycle where things that are more about relationships and art are going to be, you know, more prominent. It still has 1 more year in Scorpio at those 1st degrees of Scorpio. And then I think in the year 26, it goes fully into the Libra. But I think that it's initiated that kind of energy, and we're all looking for those kind of relationships that are more about relatable, that we actually have a connection with. And so Ariel Gutman has a wonderful class. If you're interested, you can see where that Venus star point is in your natal chart. It's actually when Venus and the Sun conjunct prenatally. So you've got your natal Venus, and then you also have your star point. And it's like the pentagon. It has 5 different points that it rotates through. And so if you're a JIN SHIN student, you probably have a an easy way of relating to those kind of connections, how they really nurture each other and bring harmony in. And it's kind of fun to find it when you find it in your chart. So let's switch and do the other side of this 19 and high 1. And I will have a couple more things that I just wanted to mention. I kind of got thrown off when I didn't have the slides, and I just wanted to say that starting, when I first started with classes, and when my mom continued to be a client for so many years, that relationship was very, it just felt very close, even though I wasn't in the office very often. I was there for a treatment when I was pregnant. I had a pregnancy that I just wasn't sure what was happening, and so I went for a treatment. But I'm one of those fortunate people. One treatment, and that was pretty much took care of whatever the problem was. And I've had lots of those kind of experiences. So I just wanted to just reiterate that relationship felt like family. And even though I didn't have an everyday relationship or that kind of that my mother had, I just felt that kind of really special inclusion that's important. And I think that's the important part of this Chiron too, is finding where you really feel like you fit, you belong. This Chiron is important for, it's in Aries, and Aries is about ourself, how we think about ourselves. So it's a good time to think of those things that might be needing to be, the Mercury retrograde, needing to be reviewed, re-examined, think it through. All the planets actually have a retrograde cycle. So, when we're reviewing information or revising something or redecorating or revamping, we're, planning it, revising our plan. Those are things that are normal. They're not an out of the ordinary event. They're things that we do, and it facilitates our growth in some fashion. And so it's really an opportunity to take another look at something that you may have made your mind up about it, and that's part of what's, I think we're moving away from. Well, we got a very clear view of how we can be so black and white and so dogmat about, our beliefs. And I think that this is a good opportunity for us to kind of revisit those things. And I see we've got about 5 minutes. Is that right, Terry?
Sure. Sure.
Okay.
Whatever you want.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it'd be good to just, close with Safety Energy Lock 26 because it is about completion. And if you've not really experienced the pulse, feeling what's happening at these safety energy locks, 26 is a wonderful place to. It's usually pretty strong and easier to get a sense of that if you've not yet done that. So you can hold both 26s together, which for me is just not real comfortable. So you could hold 26 with same side 15, if that feels more in alignment with where you have a comfort. And that's pretty easy to do, even sitting. And let's see, it's Sarah Hopper's class that I recently took. She did an online Zoom with the liver flow. And she had a really wonderful little 26 and 20 at the forehead. So experiment with which one of those really gets, is a comfortable place for you. And she basically talked about 26 as being very important for clearing that liver flow. So we'll just end with this little 26 either side, whatever feels right. So Terry, I really do like that you are going through the safety energy locks like you are, one at a time. And the next series is going to start with safety energy lock 5 and 5 through 15 for the second depth. Is that how you have that?
That is on the cards.
Oh,
Yes, that is indeed on the card.
Good.
That'll perhaps be next Thursday.
And
Unless you feel, Yolanda, that you really didn't get an opportunity to explore all the things because you didn't have your slides, you're more than welcome to see if you can get the slides working and come back next week and fill us out with more information. It's up to you.
I think I've covered the information, but I would like to get the pictures out because the other piece of information that I wanted to, well, there is one slide I really didn't even talk about, but basically I talked about astrology is just a language, it's just like learning a new language, and that the symbolism is different for everybody. So I think astrology is changing. It's not about going to an astrologer. It's about learning what those symbols mean for you. Like the safety energy lock numbers have meanings, they make up who we are, but it's not the same for me as it is for you. And so there's several modalities that do cover that. One of them is mandalas. Art really is where we are able to express who we are, and mandalas is a wonderful way to envision what's important to us in that 360-degree circle. That's the same circle that astrology uses. It's the same numerology that we use, the 36 breaths, it's a number that relates to the universe that brings things into a more complete picture for us. So just let's say I did take Wayne's class years ago in Colorado, where he handed out our chart. Meant nothing to me. I mean, I was just it had all the descriptions on there. They were, very thorough, but it wasn't until I spent time with it and I was able to actually, incorporate some of those things and know what they meant for me, that I was even able to speak about it. So it is like learning a language. And the other astrologer that I've never even been to an astrologer, other than I did go see Barry Lyons, who wrote a book about Cancer, and what he didn't say anything to me other than, here's the picture. You want to look at this picture and you will develop your own sense of the relationships that are there. And it just helps to get you to a place where you know yourself a little bit more, which is what JIN SHIN is. It's now know myself, So for me, it's been a long journey. I mean, but they do correlate for me. And I've been using daily. I have a very small Facebook group that I post the correlations that I see. They're more about the, correlations that are in the world. It's not about your particular chart, but you can pick up what it is that is pertinent for where, what you're experiencing. So it's fun, it is being the artist. And I think on that slide, I also had artists in residence, because we are creating whatever it is that we are experiencing, and it may as well be fun. Find what you enjoy doing.
Makes perfect sense. I can see from looking in the chat room that Nancy said she'd love to learn more from you on the astrology aspect, Yolanda. Would that be like you could invite her to the Facebook group,
Yes.
or was that?
Yes. Yeah, it's a small group. There's about 10 people, and generally they are people who've either taken this self-help from me, because I had several workshops in self-help, and they, it's just it's bit by bit, you're not going to absorb it all in one, you can go talk to an astrologer, but that's not really what is going to make your life work, right? It's what you have to say to them that might be most important. And, if you've got a really good astrologer, maybe they could listen to what you're saying and then, give you some practical options or something. I don't know, but I think astrology is changing. I don't think we're going to have that same picture of going to an astrologer for some advice. That's not happening. There's more and more people are learning astrology, and I think they're doing it for their own knowledge, their own self-knowledge. And it's kind of like JIN SHIN. So you have my email address in the contact?
Yeah, the email address is there. Okay. Are there any questions anyone wanted to ask Yolanda? Just raise your hand and unmute yourself. Okay, doesn't look like it, so I'll end the recording there.